Welcome to the Tailgate, brought to you by Verizon. 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. I'm Michelle Margaux alongside Ralph Vacchiano. Let's get right into New York state of mind. The Giants beat the Raiders with another strong effort from their defense. Now, if I said the Giants had a legitimate chance to make a playoff run, what would you say?
I'm sorry, did you say Giants and playoff run?
Oh my God,
Get a little wet here. That's two things that don't usually go together. But I guess once I compose myself, I would say that no, they don't have a legitimate chance. They have a teeny tiny little chance because they're a bad football team. They're a dumb football team. And that's what they've been for 9 games. They've showed little glimpses of being almost mediocre. And that's what we're kind of grabbing onto. The only hope is that their schedule is full of equally bad teams in the second half. The Eagles twice, the Bears, the Dolphins. It's just a complete mess. Teams they could beat if they were any good. So yes, if they beat them all and somehow pull out a win over the Bucs and Chargers, and yes, miracles can happen. I believe in Santa Claus too, but I don't know that would be legitimate. Say
they do make a last-minute playoff run. What would that mean for Dave Gettleman's future?
Well, that's really interesting because, it had been assumed when they were 0-3 that Dave Gettleman was gone and a house cleaning was coming, and it might still be the case, but the weird scenario has always been, what if they repeat last year when they make a run, but they're still not a good team and they look like they're showing some positive signs? If they get to, say, 7-10 or 8-9 but miss the playoffs, is that enough progress for John Mara? And to be honest, I've said this all along, John Mara does not want to make any changes in his front office, and he will use any excuse, any beacon of hope that he can grab onto. So, yes, I do believe that if they make a playoff run and look like they're headed in the right direction, he'll probably find a way to keep his front office intact. Now, Dave Gettleman's 70, and he might retire, and maybe it'll be a smooth transition, but in general, you're not going to see him go outside the organization if they keep this season alive all the way to Christmas.
Time now for the comment section, and Jets fans finally got a taste of a competent offense in recent weeks. First with Mike White, then with Josh Johnson, with Zach Wilson making his way back from an injury. It's going to be interesting what they do with that quarterback spot. And you put up a poll, Ralph, on Twitter. Who do Jets fans want to see in that role?
Yeah, I asked who they would want when both guys are fully healthy and you're not dealing with any injuries or anything. And somewhat surprisingly, it was fairly overwhelmingly for Mike White. And I understand it's a what have you done for me lately league, and everybody's excited by the game and 3 quarters or so that Mike White has played. But Jets fans are probably a little crazy. Maybe they're just starved for any kind of hope or signs of success because Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick. He's the savior. He's the franchise quarterback. He's the guy they've been waiting for. Mike White was a late round draft pick and had been in the league for a few years and never played. There's usually a reason why that happens. It's not, certainly he probably can play. We've seen that he can play, but he's not a superstar in waiting. This bubble is going to burst at some point, and, I think the Jets may ride it for a few weeks, but, Zach Wilson should still be the guy. He's clearly more talented than any quarterback that they have.
Well, you wrote that the Jets should start Mike White on Sunday, even if Zach Wilson is healthy. So why is that your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's a short-term thing for the Jets, not long-term. For one, Mike White has played well, and Zach Wilson didn't. And winning doesn't necessarily matter to the Jets, but developing the offense does. So if you can get a quarterback that's making the right reads and the right calls and all the right plays, it helps your offensive line, it helps your running backs, it helps your receivers, so they can grow the offense around him. And that could be big, and it could be basically set up for when Zach Wilson comes back. That's one. 2 is it doesn't hurt Zach Wilson to watch a little longer. And number 3, the last thing you want is Zach Wilson to be thrown back in against one of the best defenses in the NFL when Jets fans clearly are dreaming of Mike White, because the first interception he throws, those fans will be chanting, "We want Mike." And he's still a 22-year-old kid. You don't want to put him in that situation where it's bad enough that fans want his replacement now, but when he's on the field and everybody wants his replacement, that's going to be really tough. It's time to take it from a pro, and it's my pleasure to welcome in the best pro I know, Carl Banks, who's not only one half of the Giants radio broadcast team, but a member of their Ring of Honor and knows a little bit about playing defense. And Carl, that's where I'm going to start with you, because I was actually thinking of having you on this show a few weeks ago to ask you what had gone wrong with the Giants defense. And then they turned it all around. Why do you think it took them so long to kind of get to that point? Because the first 3 or 4 games were not good for this defense.
Coach Patrick Graham said in training camp that he doesn't like to build a playbook. He kind of just goes on how he feels the team is progressing. The health of certain players probably restricted how far out he could go in terms of being aggressive on defense, like losing Blake Martinez early on. And then your outside linebackers have been in and out of the lineup. But Patrick Graham was continuing to try to implement some more aggressive style defense, and it just wasn't working out for him.
When you look at Daniel Jones, he's played some very good games. He's had some strange games where, like last Sunday where he only throws for 110 yards. How do you evaluate where he is right now, how well he's playing with not a lot around him, and, also factoring in the fact that this was the season where the Giants were supposed to figure out, is he their franchise quarterback or not?
I don't think there's much out there that would tell you that Daniel Jones is not a good NFL quarterback. I mean, when people say, is he their franchise quarterback, what exactly is a franchise quarterback? Is it a quarterback that takes your team to the Super Bowl? Because last I checked, one guy's won 7 in the last 100 years. So, I mean, there have been a lot of great franchise quarterbacks that either don't get your team to a Super Bowl or doesn't win a Super Bowl, but you can win games with them. And that's what you want. You want a playoff caliber quarterback. He's that.
When you look at this team, and I know that we don't know what's going to happen, but do you see enough talent, a core of players where you think that maybe at the end of the year, John Mara can be convinced that there's enough here, there's progress, or do you think that they're headed towards that house cleaning that everybody's predicted?
The change will come as a result of how much better they are at the end of the year versus how they were last year. I think they have the right head coach. And I don't buy the theory that, your general manager has to pick your head coach. That's not necessarily etched in stone in the NFL either anymore. But if you have the right coach, he just has to be aligned with whoever is picking players and evaluating players. So do I think something's got to change? Yeah, probably. I don't know if there's a house cleaning, but I'm sure there's going to be a thorough inspection to see what needs to be in and what needs to be out.
That's a good way to put it. They certainly do have a lot of things to look at, a lot of decisions to make, and remains to be seen where all that's going to go. Carl, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate it.
Let's get into victory formation now. Jordan Love made his first career start against Kansas City, and the Chiefs put his mom and his girlfriend in the absolute last row at the game at the stadium. Would you willingly go to a game knowing that you would be in the absolute last row?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know that I would do it if my son or, somebody I was dating was the starting quarterback of the team. I think that that's a little nuts. And I have a lot of questions of how they ended up there and why they just didn't go on some ticket broker website and, pay for better seats. But I actually think Arrowhead Stadium is pretty high, so this is maybe an exception. You're like 10 miles from the field. But being up high is not that bad. So somebody said, hey, we're going to go up, sit up near the top. People are rowdy up there. You can wait out the crowd as they leave. You can see the whole field. Yeah, I might go. It's actually lower than most press boxes, so I'd be in.
Well, I feel like it's a very highly debated topic. Are football games actually worth attending in person?
I do not think so. And that's, of course, as someone who's spoiled because I go to football games. I've been doing it for years, and it's easy for me to say, but you see so much more on television. You don't get the whole field view. You don't get to see the routes develop and things like that, but you get the replays, which are key. You get explanations of things that happen. You get close-ups of things you'd never see from 9 miles away. I think a lot of sports are better in person. To me, football is not one of them. Watch it. Get the biggest TV you can find. Sit there, get a bowl of chips, a beer, stay on your couch.
See, I think it depends on the stadium. Like AT&T Stadium in Dallas, 1,000% worth it. Qualcomm, RIP, no longer with us. Not worth it at all.
AT&T Stadium up near the top. I don't know, because you know what? They've got that huge, the TV hanging over the field. You end up watching that more than the game.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of The Tailgate. For Ralph Vacchiano and Michelle Margaux, and we will see you next week.